Welcome back. We continue to shine the spotlight on the Nigerian elections, and University of Pretoria Political Analyst Professor Christopher Isike joins us now from our Pretoria studios. He is, of course, a member of the Nigerian Union South Africa, an umbrella body of Nigerian interests in South Africa. Thank you so much for staying with us, Professor. We hope the line is now fixed. So what do you make of this postponement?
Yes, like I was saying, like the president said, and of course his position contestant aspirant Atiku Abubakar, it is a disappointment, not because the elections were postponed, but I think what most people had issues with is the fact that it was postponed just a few hours before. Many people woke up to the announcement of the postponement. And another sad part of it was that the INEC could not apologize. They were not sympathetic to the sufferings and costs that they had made people to incur as a result of the postponement. Now this is a body that had over $532 million and 4 years to prepare. So it's unfortunate that they only had to realize they had logistic problems, just a few hours to the election.
Do you think it was justified, though?
Well, it depends. There are rumors that speculate, or not really rumors, because the APC had come out to, condemn the postponements. The PDP has also condemned it. Other parties like the AAC have also condemned it. So generally, they've all condemned it. I do not think that it bodes well for the main opposition candidate, Atiku Abubakar, because the last time elections were postponed like this, there was a low turnout of voters eventually after a 6 weeks postponement. Now, bearing the social, the economic, as well as the political cost, it may mean that there will be voter apathy on the 23rd of February if the elections do hold.
Many have been placing the blame squarely on the shoulders of the APC that they could have been the ones influencing the electoral body to postpone the vote. But both parties have since come out to condemn and fiercely condemn the postponement of these elections. So who then do you think might have the upper hand towards influencing the INEC, the electoral body, to postpone these elections?
Well, the ruling party ought to have the upper hand because whether you like it or not, even though the INEC is supposed to be independent, whether you like it or not, they do have sympathies through their conduct over the years, for the ruling party, and that's not very unexpected. But, the thinking was that the ruling party wanted the elections to go on. At worst, they wanted it to be staggered. And that is something that it is said the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, resisted. So if he was able to do that, then it means that he took an independent decision, because the ruling party would have actually preferred for the elections to go ahead, as their statements have indicated after the postponement. And the president also had strong words, for the commission today when he was addressing members of his party, this afternoon in Nigeria.
I mean, for President Buhari to call for an investigation into the role of the electoral body, I mean, it leaves a lot to be desired. What do you make then of this electoral body? Is it a capable institution? Does it have the necessary gravitas to hold a free and fair election?
Well, it does. The INEC over the years has improved. Let's not forget that Nigeria is still an evolving democracy. It's just about 20 years old now. And also, given our challenges with, electricity and technology, it will be a mammoth task, to expect the Commission to do a very excellent job of counting over 84 million registered voters in 1 week. And also considering that they have to go around 186,000 polling stations across the country. So it's a logistical challenge, And over the years, they've improved. Okay, they've improved. However, the way that they've conducted previous state elections in the last 6 months have left much to be desired, and postponing the elections in the manner that they have done speaks volumes about their competence and capability, to conduct an elections. And I dare say that this action has implications in terms of political apathy and loss of credibility on the part of Nigerians in their ability to conduct the election.
Professor, earlier on, we just saw President Buhari reading the Riot Act to whosoever does have the influence of disrupting the vote, that they will be doing so at the expense of their own lives. Now, his statement was widely condemned by the PDP, saying that the death penalty wasn't sanctioned in the country's constitution. So what do you make of this statement and, of course, the condemnation by the opposition party? Are we looking at the president who's simply shooting from the hip, or he was simply, quoted out of context?
Well, the president appeared to be shooting from the hips because he also had very stern warnings for anyone who is attempting to disrupt the elections, ballot snatching. He's actually even threatened that the police has been given order to shoot and kill people who try to tamper with the elections. So that's one side. However, there's also been allegations against the INEC that someone who's contesting the elections, a senatorial seat in a certain state in the north central part of the country, was involved in the contract, actually got the contract, his company got the contract that, printed election materials, including card readers and ballot papers. And that this person is also contesting the election, and that in itself leaves much to be desired. I would love to see the president rein in his party member and take the INEC chairman to task on this particular issue, because, if you are allowed to contest an election where you have been involved in printing election materials, surely that compromises the integrity of the elections. We would like to see what the INEC chairman does about that. We would like to see what the president says about, such conduct from his own party members and why INEC would allow such things in the first place.
Can this postponement affect voter turnout on the 23rd of February? We saw earlier, last week, people saying that they travel over 500 kilometers to cast their ballots, some casting their ballots for the first time. Are we likely to see the same level of effort being taken by Nigerians to go back to the polls yet again?
Yeah, very possibly, because this has come at huge cost to a lot of people. Like, people had to travel, like you said. People had to take leave from work, so it's definitely going to affect their interest. And I think some people have actually said that this is also a ploy to get voters to be disinterested. But to be more scientific, if you look at previous elections that have been postponed in the past, voter turnout has always been low. It was 33.5% in the 2015 elections after the postponement. Now, unless the parties are allowed to campaign again, do something to reinvigorate and reignite interest, it's very likely that it will affect voter turnout if the elections hold on Saturday.
Most stakeholders, including election observers, and we've also seen a former president of Botswana, Festus Mogae, saying that he was actually apprehensive that all the work that needs to be done, including the auditing of ballot boxes, will be done in time. This is a cause for concern.
Absolutely, and that's why, if you're listening to me, I keep saying that if the elections will hold on the 23rd, because there's been compromises, whether you like it or not. It's like in an exam. Once you've released the ballot materials, all over the country, and you're recalling them in the spate of various allegations, that are all over the country around people accessing these materials, people who shouldn't have access to them. What is more likely to happen? What should rather likely happen is for a recall of materials, is for an audit of those materials, and where possible, if possible, is to do a reprint of materials. That is the only way, especially if the INEC comes out to tell us in clear terms what has gone wrong and what they're doing about it. But they're not doing any of these, and I have a strong feeling that they perhaps don't know the level of compromise that has taken place, and as soon as they realize that, if people, civil society, push for new materials, they may have to print new materials, and that will take surely more than a week. So I share the fears and concerns of the international community that are observing the elections. But we'll see from Wednesday what happens. I'm sure by Wednesday, Thursday, we should have a clear sense of what would be happening, because I am not sure that they will have the guts to postpone the elections again at the last minute as they did the last time.
Yeah, and as I suppose it remains an issue that we're going to have to watch very closely. Thank you so much for your insight, Professor. We appreciate your time. That was University of Pretoria Political Analyst, Professor Christopher Isike.